Hey, welcome back. So I was actually sick today. Today's Wednesday. I stayed home sick. Or I was already home, but I just didn't work today. And the job was really nice. I told the people and they're like, oh, if you have time off, take it. So I really like this job. Yeah, I still feel a little weird, but I mean, it's so nice. That could be my nice thing for today, maybe. It's just like, because I imagine like when I was sick and going to work, it's like this whole thing where you're like, oh, am I going to go? Am I not going to go? Oh, and then you go, and then you're like, oh, I still feel kind of sick, but like I'm going to try to work, because then going home is like this whole thing. But here's just like, I worked for an hour and I was like, I feel kind of barfy. I have to like, I can't look at the screen. And so I told them, and they're like, oh yeah, just take the day off. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just slept for like 4 hours, and then I was like, fine. So it's like, working from home is the best thing ever in the whole world. But yeah, I figured I should do a video today, so otherwise I might not do a video, because that's what happened 2 weeks ago, because I'm so busy. I didn't really know what to talk about, because I didn't have like any updates about anything, improv or dating, nothing really going on. I've been watching a lot of these YouTube videos. This guy called Genetically Modified Skeptic. He used to be a Christian, and now he's an atheist. I really like his videos and his personality. I guess part of me feels like I do kind of have more in common with atheists than with Christians, like when it comes to just philosophically or sociologically. And his hair, like I like his hair. Can we talk about that? Watch his videos. I'm like, how do I get my hair like to be like that? Because I cut my hair this week and it's bad. Because you watch his videos from like 2 years ago, and his hair's like normal and bad like mine, and then like something happens where he just put something in it and just like it looks so much better. And it is the lighting, like, but I don't know. I mean, the topic I was going to try to wade into today was transgender issues, and trying to look at it from like, okay, how can I be a Christian and still well, I mean, kind of what I have been kind of doing and wanted, like I did that with being gay. Like, how can you present this to a Christian and have it make sense? Because if this is kind of a mess, but like I want to be a Christian. I don't, for some reason, like this genetically modified skeptic person, he seems like he has a very similar life to me. Like, he had 2 parents who were Christians, so like kind of super conservative, but they were very loving. So he had no reason to leave Christianity, but he did because, like, logically or whatever, he couldn't, for some reason he couldn't live with feeling like, well, none of this is true. Like, how can I base my life on all this stuff that's not true? And for some reason, that's not a problem for me. Like, even if I don't believe it's true, I'm like, it's important to me to, like, and it's important to my family, and I have no reason to rebel against this ideology. It's like, love your neighbor. Okay, that's great. You can never know anyway if God is real or not, so why would I choose to push that away? So watching his videos is interesting. So I mentioned, I did think I did one video where I'm like, this is how a Christian like me, I could still be a Christian and still be like, oh, being gay is fine, who cares? But I don't think I did a transgender one yet. And I don't know, I mean, watching his videos made me realize, like, I mean, I know this, but like how deficient I am with like my thoughts. Like, I'm not smart. I make logical fallacies all the time. I don't know what I'm talking about. But then, I mean, you watch, like, Christian apologetic videos, and their logic is just, it's vapor. It's nothing. They're not, everything they say is just based on totally just analogies and anecdotes and, like, oh, if God is real because look at this apple. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's never been satisfying to me, any of the logic that, like, an apologetic, and that's why I don't really go into that. Like, it's very frustrating to try to figure out, like, oh, is God real or not? Because you can never know. So, like, whatever. I don't understand why Christians, like Christian apologetic people, they can be like, oh no, God is real and I can prove it. And it makes sense. It's never going to make sense to me. And you're never going to prove it to me. So I just don't even want to think about it. But yeah, so if I purport to be a Christian and I want to be, like, a good person, then I need to reconcile, like, this transgender issue. And I'm fine with it, but part of me also wants to be able to defend it. Like, if a Christian asks me, like, well, you're a Christian and you're okay with people being transgender, how does that work? Either I could say, like, one path can be like, oh yeah, well, okay, and the Bible says you can't be transgender, so I'm not a Christian anymore. Or you can say what I have come to think, which is this. Is mine. And obviously, I have no idea. Like, I'm not transgender, and I don't have any transgender, like, friends or anything, so I have no idea. So if I say anything, like, transphobic, I mean, you can yell at me and tell me what I said wrong, but nobody watches this anyway. Dalton, if you're watching, like, and this makes you upset, tell me why. So, I feel like, okay, I thought about it a little bit, and I feel like this is a way to start a conversation with a Christian where you can get them into a place of accepting this idea, which is gender dysphoria is a thing. Someone feels like they are the gender that they doesn't line up with how they were born or whatever. It's a serious mental condition, right? That might be transphobic to say, but I have no idea. But this is how I'm going to broach the topic with somebody eventually, if I ever get brave enough to talk to somebody about this. Gender dysphoria is a serious issue that, like, kids kill themselves over this. Like, it's so distressing to them that they feel wrong. A Christian would start saying at this point, like, right, they feel distressed, so they need to come to Jesus and pray and become a Christian or whatever, and realize what God's purpose is for them. It's to be who they were born as. And that is a pretty compelling argument for a Christian because, like, there is a lot of evidence for that in the Bible. And if you're a Christian, the Bible is your everything. So you always go back to the Bible. And there is a lot of evidence for the idea of, like, this design. God designed us as man and woman, and you're supposed to be this certain way. And there's a lot of evidence for that in the Bible that, like, that's the way it's supposed to be. So I'm going to try to deconstruct that a little bit to say, so my life has gotten a lot better since I've been going to therapy and taking medicine. I prayed, and I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. I prayed a lot in high school and college for help, for friends, for my anxiety to go away. And it didn't. It only started to get better when I took medicine and when I started talking to a therapist. So I guess as a Christian I could say, like, okay, yeah, become a Christian first and see if that helps. But if it doesn't, and the person's going to kill themselves, why is taking a hormone to make you physically a little bit different different than me taking anxiety medicine. And I think that's a good argument because, like, taking anxiety medicine is like an accepted thing that my parents are okay with it. Most Christians would say, like, oh yeah, of course, if you're anxious and taking medicine helps you. I think this is a good analogy because, like, social anxiety disorder and gender dysphoria, it's all up here. It's all in your feelings, in your head. It's the same thing. So, like, if someone has to take hormone treatment to take away that distress, how is that any different than me taking anxiety medicine to take away my distress? Maybe that's what God wanted you to do. I guess the problem is, for me, it always comes back to this idea of truth, and I need to talk more about this with Christians and people. Like, what does truth mean? Because we've been talking about it, the pastor's been preaching about truth. And he's like, the Bible's the truth. Okay, like, I'm a Christian, I can accept that the Bible's the truth, but I don't... Like, what does that mean to you? Does that mean... So here's an example. I mean, there's a million examples like this, and this is what I want to bring up next week. I feel like there's as much... maybe that's not exactly right. There's a lot of verses in the Bible, and there's a framework for disciplining your children physically. I can think of like 2 or 3 verses off the top of my head, and there are more. The idea that in Proverbs there's a couple that's like, a good parent won't spare the rod in disciplining his children. So is the truth that you should hit your kids to discipline them with a rod? Because that's what it says. Or is there a greater truth that can be revealed to you by reading that and saying, like, what would the greater truth be? Well, the example, and I think I mentioned this once before, is like, the place I can get to is that if I read a verse that's like, being gay is bad, for me, that's true, because I'm not gay. So for me, being gay would be a sin. But for someone, them loving somebody can't be a sin. So if they read that verse, they're like, oh, okay, it's a little bit different for me. We're all different. So did I convince you? Any Christians watching? This is bad. I'm sick. I told you I'm sick. I'm gonna throw my spaghetti all over you. I guess that is the main point of it, is like, I get frustrated by this idea that, like, you're a Christian and you tell somebody, like, oh, they're feeling this intense distress about their gender, and you're like, okay, become a Christian and God will help you feel the way you're supposed to. But then, like, what if you do that and it doesn't work? That's kind of like how it works, where it's like, oh, you're just not trying hard enough, or you're not believing hard enough. That's not how it's supposed to work. Was I not believing hard enough when God didn't take away my anxiety when I was a kid? I was doing everything a 15-year-old kid was supposed to do, and I still felt really bad. I honored my parents. I went to church. I prayed. I read the Bible. I was kind to people. I loved my neighbor. And then I prayed, can I have a friend? And God was like, no. I guess when I phrase it like that, it seems like I might have some kind of animosity or enmity. There's a new word for you. I want to try to use new words. Towards God. I don't. I guess because I'm like, well, God might not even exist. I don't know what the point is here. I don't know. Sometimes it does feel like I'm just putting in too much extra work to be a Christian who like believes things that other Christians don't like. Just become an atheist. Who cares? I don't want to do that. I'm always gonna be a Christian. I mean, I use a lot of words to just say having gender dysphoria is a serious condition, and if becoming a Christian doesn't help, then you should just take whatever possible medicine you can to help alleviate your distress. And that's why I'm fine with people being transgender, I guess. I guess that's it. Yeah, I'll end. I just wanted to do a real quick video about transgender stuff. I mean, I want to know what I think, and sometimes I don't know what I think before I say it. Like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know I felt that way. But thanks if anybody's watching and you have any ideas about this stuff. I'm interested to talk about it. I think I just am. The only way for me to be a Christian is to just accept that the Bible can apply to everyone differently, and most Christians don't like that. They won't accept that. They'll say it applies to everybody the same way, which doesn't make sense to me, but I don't understand how it could make sense that, like, we can all accept that, like, we're all different people, and we all, that is even kind of like a biblical thing, like, we're all the body of Christ, like, some people are the arm, and some people are the feet, and, we're all different. As long as we love each other and we love God, that's all it takes to be a Christian. Like, all the other stuff is just like you trying to figure out how to be the best person. And we all have different ways to get there. One way to get there is you're transgender, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so thanks. What was my happy thing this week? I mean, thanks, Dalton. I'll just say thanks, because I don't really have anything else. Thanks for commenting, like you always do. I really appreciate it. And I mean, I was thinking, like, you commenting and being encouraging is just as helpful, if not more, than like having 1 million viewers who are like, oh, keep doing it. Because I really feel that you're being genuine and specific about, like, oh, I know you're going on dates and it's hard for you, and keep going. And, like, I know you're doing improv and that's really cool. Like, keep doing that and you're doing a good job. That's so much more helpful than random people watching and just being like, oh, whatever. One Dalton is greater than 1 million randos. That's what I mean. So thanks. I've said it before, but I really mean that. Having a person like that who is like encouraging like that and just all nice all the time is so helpful. And I do feel like hopefully I'm doing that for you too. Maybe I'm not doing as good a job, but I'd like to. And I kind of use your example sometimes about, like, oh, let's be as nice as he's being to me, and being as encouraging to him. Anyway, hopefully the microphone worked this week. Last week it was like bzzz. I didn't like that. But yeah, I gotta fix my hair. How does he get his hair like that? Where it's like, and then you like spray something and then it's like, whoa. I mean, I know I'm pale and gross and like I got the pimples and the eye bags, but I just want to get my hair like that. How's this look? Does this look better? Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.